Koan 1. The sound of the petal. A monk asked the master, "What is the sound of a falling flower?" The master replied, "Listen when your mind stops seeking." Koan 2. The paper tiger. A young disciple feared failure. The master said, "Go into the forest and fight a paper tiger." When he returned, the master asked, "Did you win?" The young man smiled. There was nothing to fear. Koan 3. The broken bowl. The old man broke his tea bowl. A monk asked, "Are you sad?" The master looked at the shards and said, "Emptiness has returned to emptiness." Koan 4. Without shadow. An eager disciple asked, "Master, how do I get rid of my shadow?" The master took him into the noon sun and replied, "Remain in the light. It will leave on its own." Koan 5. The leaf that does not fall. A monk meditated under a tree in autumn. He saw a leaf that had not yet fallen. He asked the master, "Why does that leaf resist change?" The master replied, "Even attachment has its moment to let go." Koan 6. The water that is not drunk. A monk approached the river and asked, "Master, how do I quench my spiritual thirst?" The master replied, "First, stop contemplating the water, then drink." Koan 7. The silent echo. A disciple shouted into a cave, "I am ready to awaken." There was no echo. The master smiled. At last, someone listened without replying. Koan 8. The dirty mirror. The disciple said, "My mind is clouded." The master handed him a mirror covered in mud. "Clean it without touching it," he ordered. The disciple remained still. The master nodded. Koan 9. The words of the wind. A monk asked, "How is wisdom transmitted without words?" The master opened the window. The wind came in and the monk understood. Koan 10. The fish out of water. A disciple cried for feeling lost. The master took him to the river, lifted a fish, and placed it on the ground. "What does this fish seek?" "Water. You seek what you have never lost." Koan 11. The gateless garden. The disciple asked, "Where is the path to truth?" The master pointed to the garden and said, "Walk without entering." Koan 12. The lamp lit at noon. A monk lit a lamp at noon. "Why do you do that?" asked the master. "To see better." The master blew out the flame and said, "Now you will see without distraction." Koan 13. The bamboo that does not grow. A young man cared for a bamboo shoot and complained, "It doesn't grow, master." The master replied, "Look at its roots. That too is growth." Koan 14. The soundless drum. An old monk beat a drum without touching it. "What are you doing?" they asked. "I am listening to the rhythm that cannot be broken." Koan 15. The child at the summit. A child climbed the mountain searching for the master. When he arrived, he found no one. Then he said aloud, "I no longer need answers," and he descended in silence. Koan 16. Tea without leaves. A disciple brought hot water without tea to the master. "Why do you offer me this?" The young man replied, "I wanted to give you only the essence." The master drank and said, "You know how to serve the invisible." Koan 17. The bell that does not ring. The disciple asked, "What is perfect silence?" The master pointed to a bell and said, "Make it ring with a peaceful mind." The bell made no sound. The master smiled. Koan 18. The thief who stole nothing. A thief entered the temple, but upon seeing the master meditating, he sat down. Hours later, he left without taking anything. The master said, "Today he stole from his own desire." Koan 19. The tree that listens. A monk spoke to a tree every morning. One day the master asked, "What does it reply?" "Nothing," said the monk. "Then it listens well," replied the master. Koan 20. The bridge without a river. A student built a bridge over the sand. The master asked, "What do you cross if there's no water?" "My own doubts," said the student. Koan 21. The bowl full of air. A disciple offered the master an empty bowl. "It is full," said the young man. The master asked, "Full of what?" "Of what I have yet to understand." The master accepted it with gratitude. Koan 22. The floating stone. The monk said, "I saw a stone float in my dream." "And what did you learn?" asked the master. "That the impossible only weighs in waking life." Koan 23. The ownerless shoe. A lone shoe appeared at the temple entrance. A monk brought it to the master. "What do we do with what belongs to no one?" The master put it on and said, "Now it has a step." Koan 24. The cloud without direction. The disciple wanted to know his purpose. The master pointed to a cloud and asked, "Where is it going?" "Wherever the wind blows," he replied. "Then so are you." Koan 25. The clock without time. The master broke the temple's hourglass. "Why did you do it?" A young man asked. "Because some believe awakening can be measured." Koan 26. The unspoken word. A monk asked the master for a teaching without words. The master looked at him for a long time, then walked away. The monk fell to his knees and whispered, "Now I understand." Koan 27. The white crow. A disciple saw a white crow in his dreams and told the master. He replied, "When you see a black crow, wake up. When you see a white one, forget you are asleep." Koan 28. The lamp extinguished by the moon. The master extinguished all the temple lamps under the full moon. "Why?" a novice asked. "Because lighting what already shines insults its light." Koan 29. The name of silence. A disciple asked, "What is the name of the egoless state?" The master wrote in the sand. "That is its name," he said. Koan 30. The knotless rope. The master handed a knotless rope to his disciple and said, "Use it to tie yourself to what cannot be held." The young man carried it for years without understanding, until he stopped trying. Koan 31. The sound of snow. A disciple meditated during a snowfall. Upon returning, he asked, "How can snow make so much silence?" The master replied, "Because it does not wish to be heard." Koan 32. The disciple who never arrived. Each morning, the master placed an extra bowl on the altar. "Who is it for?" they asked. "For the one who has not yet arrived, but already listens." Koan 33. Fire in the water. A young man dreamed of fire burning at the bottom of a lake. He asked the master if such a thing was possible. "Only when the fire is your mind and the lake is your heart." Koan 34. The question without a mark. A disciple asked the master, "What is the essential question?" The master replied, "The one you ask without expecting an answer." Koan 35. The wall that surrenders. A monk struck a wall, hoping to break through with his mind. The master said, "Strike until neither the wall remains, nor you." Koan 36. The shadow of the lotus. A disciple meditated by a lake where lotuses floated. "Why does their shadow in the water disturb me?" he asked. The master replied, "Because you still believe shadows are not part of the flower." Koan 37. The stilled wind. The monk tried to catch the wind with his hands. The master said, "And now?" "Nothing," he replied. "Exactly. That is what you tried to possess." Koan 38. The name of Buddha. A disciple would shout, "Buddha," every time he stumbled. The master asked, "Why do you name him when you fall?" "Because that's where I find him most." Koan 39. The arrow turned back. A monk shot arrows into the sky, and all fell near him. "Aim at yourself," said the master. From then on, he needed no bow. Koan 40, the bottomless well. A disciple looked into a very deep well and said, "I can't see the bottom." The master replied, "Then you have already reached it." Koan 41, the heart of the rock. A monk asked the master, "How can I find the heart of the rock?" The master touched his chest and replied, "The rock has no heart, but you do." Koan 42, the echo in the wind. A disciple asked, "Why do I always hear an echo when I question?" The master smiled, "Because the echo only replies when the question is sincere." Koan 43, the tiger that does not sleep. A tiger slept under the shade of a tree. The disciple asked the master, "Why does it not wake up?" The master replied, "The tiger is already awake. You are the one who does not see it." Koan 44, the flower that will not open. The disciple, frustrated, said, "I can no longer meditate." The master showed him a closed flower. "When will it bloom?" The disciple watched, but no answer came. The master smiled. "Is it the flower that is closed, or you who do not see it?" Koan 45, the thief in the mirror. A disciple saw a strange figure in a mirror and said, "Who is this?" The master replied, "The thief who steals what cannot be held." Koan 46, the broken compass. A disciple showed the master a broken compass and said, "How will I find north?" The master took the compass and threw it into the river. "You no longer need north. Just follow the river." Koan 47, the moon in the palm. A monk watched the moon reflected in the water. "How can I touch the moon?" he asked. The master extended his hand. "Touch it without getting wet. The moon is always in your palm, even when you don't see it." Koan 48, the master and the beggar. A beggar asked the master for a coin. The master offered his empty hand. The beggar said, "There's nothing here." The master smiled. "Exactly. That's what you were seeking." Koan 49, the falling tree. A disciple asked the master, "If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound?" The master replied, "The tree falls, the wind carries it, and the question is never asked." Koan 50, the water that doesn't move. A monk watched a frozen pond and asked, "Why doesn't the water move?" The master replied, "The water is always moving. You are the one who believes it's still." Koan 51, the fire that does not burn. A disciple approached an extinguished fire and asked, "Where did the fire go?" The master touched his forehead. "The fire burns in you when you stop seeking it outside." Koan 52, the echo without a voice. A monk meditated facing a wall. Someone shouted his name. The master asked, "Did you hear the reply?" The monk nodded. "Where is the echo?" Koan 53, the fish in the water. A disciple wanted to escape his thoughts. The master asked, "Where does the fish hide when it is in water?" The young man looked deep but said nothing. "There's no need to flee. Just be the water." Koan 54, the path of air. A disciple walked quickly and asked the master, "Why does the wind seem to push me?" The master said, "The wind only pushes when you chase it. Let it pass and there will be no effort." Koan 55, the voice of the wind. A monk asked the master, "What sound does the wind make in the field?" The master replied, "Listen, what you hear is not only the wind, but the field becoming it." Koan 56, the moon in the well. A disciple watched the moon reflected in a well. "Why can't I touch it?" he asked. The master replied, "The moon is not in the well. The well is the reflection of your mind." Koan 57, the pathless journey. A young man asked the master, "How do I know if the path I follow will lead me to truth?" The master pointed to the empty horizon and said, The path won't lead you because you are already the truth you seek. Koan 58. The tree that doesn't fall. A monk watched a tree leaning in the wind. Why doesn't it fall? He asked. The master replied, because the fall is not in the tree, but in your expectations. Koan 59. The lamp that extinguishes itself. A disciple lit a lamp and asked the master, how can I keep it lit? The master extinguished the lamp and said, the light is always present. Just stop searching for it. Koan 60. The unlocked door. The disciple knocked on the monastery door but couldn't enter. The master said, the door was never locked. You only thought it was. Koan 61. The scent of the air. A disciple asked, how can I sense the fragrance of the air? The master replied, when you stop seeking it, the air itself will surround you. Koan 62. The shadow that doesn't follow. A monk tried to catch his shadow. The master watched him and said, the shadow follows when you stop looking at it. Let it be. Koan 63. The water that doesn't spill. The disciple poured water into a bowl, but it spilled. The master asked, why did the water spill? The young man replied, because I couldn't stop it. The master smiled. Water is never stopped. It simply flows. Koan 64. The wind that cannot be seen. A disciple asked, how can I see the wind? The master pointed to the top of a tree swaying. The wind is not seen, but it moves what is seen. Koan 65. The tree on the mountain peak. A monk asked the master, what is the highest? The master replied, the tree at the top of the mountain never questions height. Koan 66. The flower that never withers. A disciple asked the master, why do flowers wither? The master smiled and said, the flower does not wither. You simply stop seeing it when it fades. Koan 67. The candle without flame. A monk lit a candle, but the wind blew it out. The disciple asked, where did the light go? The master replied, the light was never in the flame, but in the space it lit. Koan 68. The echo of the heart. A disciple said, I can't hear my heart. The master touched his chest and said, listen not to what is heard, but to what is silent. Koan 69. The tree that speaks. A monk asked, what does the tree say? The master replied, the tree does not speak, but its silence says more than 1,000 words. Koan 70. The door that doesn't open. A disciple stood before a closed door and asked, how will I open it? The master replied, the door opens when you're no longer afraid to enter without forcing it. Koan 71. The mirror that doesn't reflect. A disciple asked the master, how can I see my true face? The master showed him an empty mirror. Your face does not reflect. You are the reflection. Koan 72. The water in the broken bucket. A monk tried to fill a broken bucket with water, but it kept spilling. The disciple asked, why can't I fill the bucket? The master replied, because the bucket is not the vessel, you are the one who believes it is. Koan 73. The sun in the fog. A disciple asked, how can I see the sun when fog covers everything? The master raised his hand, pointing to the empty space. The fog cannot hide the light that lies beyond it. Koan 74. The sound without origin. A monk heard a sound in the distance and asked the master, where does that sound come from? The master replied, sound has no origin, only an open ear. Koan 75. The endless circle. The disciple drew a circle in the sand and asked the master, where does the circle end? The master drew a line through it. The circle does not end. Continues wherever you decide it does. Koan 76. The wind that doesn't blow. A disciple asked, How can the wind blow without moving? The master replied, the wind does not blow. It is your mind that moves it. Koan 77. The empty bowl. The master gave a disciple an empty bowl and said, carry it with you for 3 days. When the disciple returned, he asked, why did I have to carry an empty bowl? The master showed him his own heart. Only when it is empty can it be filled. Koan 78. The drop that becomes the ocean. A disciple meditated on a drop of water falling into the sea. How can a drop become the ocean? He asked. The master smiled. When the drop dissolves, there is no difference. Koan 79. The silence that speaks. The disciple complained of not finding peace in the noise. The master said, silence is not in what is quiet, but in what you are. Koan 80. The mountain you don't climb. A monk looked at a distant mountain and asked, how will I reach the top? The master replied, the mountain is already within you. You don't need to climb it. Koan 81. The rootless tree. A disciple asked the master, how can I find my roots? The master replied, the tree does not find its roots. The roots are the tree. Koan 82. The river that doesn't flow. A monk watched a still river and asked, why doesn't the river flow? The master replied, the river flows when you stop seeking it in the water. Koan 83. The cloudless sky. A disciple asked the master, how can I see a clear sky? The master showed him the sun and said, the sky has no clouds when you stop forming them in your mind. Koan 84. The journey without destination. A monk asked the master, how do I know if my path will lead me to truth? The master smiled. The path has no destination. You are already the truth you seek. Koan 85. The mirror of the soul. A disciple looked into the water and asked, why can't I see my reflection clearly? The master showed him still water. When the water is clear, there's no image to seek. Koan 86. The garden that doesn't grow. A disciple watched the monastery's garden and asked, why don't the plants grow faster? The master replied, the garden grows when you stop rushing it. Koan 87. The bird that flies without wings. A monk asked the master, how can a bird fly without wings? The master replied, the bird is already flying, even when you don't see it. Koan 88. The moon that cannot be seen. A disciple asked, why can't I see the moon on a cloudy night? The master said, the moon is always there. You don't need to see it to know it shines. Koan 89. The echo of the river. A monk asked the master, why do I always hear the river's echo? The master replied, the river has no echo. What you hear is your mind thinking. Koan 90. The sun that doesn't set. A disciple asked, why doesn't the sun set behind the mountains? The master pointed to the horizon. The sun doesn't hide. You are the one who hides it. Koan 91. The tree without a shadow. A monk asked, why does this tree have no shadow? The master replied, the tree has no shadow because you are not there to see it. Koan 92. The footprint in the sand. A disciple asked the master, how can I follow the path if the footprints fade in the sand? The master replied, the path is not in the footprints, but in the step you take. Koan 93. The river without water. A monk asked the master, how can a river have no water? The master replied, the river is always full, but you only see it when you stop expecting something. Koan 94. The crow that sings. A disciple asked, why doesn't the crow sing? The master replied, the crow is always singing, but you don't hear it until you stop seeking it. Koan 95. The endless bridge. A monk saw a long bridge and asked, how will I cross this bridge? The master replied, the bridge has no end. As you cross it, the path disappears. Koan 96. The sky that doesn't fall. A disciple looked at the sky and asked, "Why doesn't the sky fall on me?" The master replied, "The sky never falls. It is you who believe you are holding it up." Koan 97. The echo without reply. A monk shouted into the void and asked, "Why doesn't the echo answer me?" The master replied, "The echo always answers, but you are no longer listening." Koan 98. The fish in the net. A disciple was fishing in the sea and asked, "How do I know if the fish is caught?" The master replied, "The fish is never caught. It is only you who believe it is." Koan 99. The fire that doesn't burn. A monk tried to light a fire with a stone and asked, "Why doesn't the fire ignite?" The master replied, "The fire does not burn when you try to ignite it. It only burns when you no longer need it." Koan 100. The flower that never opens. A disciple looked at a closed flower and asked, "Why doesn't it open?" The master replied, "The flower is already open. Only you see it as closed." Koan 101. The heart without borders. A monk asked the master, "Where is the heart of the universe?" The master smiled and said, "The heart is everywhere, but it has no borders."